Well, I think over the years, it's hard to believe, but this book was actually conceived in 1997. So over 25 years ago, I've heard from a number of different types of users. So one group that I hear from probably less frequently is sports industry personnel, people that are working in the sports business. And they might have a copy on hand and use it as a resource. They might have even had it as a student at one point in time, but it does have a lot of useful references in it that sports professionals can actually use. Certainly, instructors use it, hopefully in the classroom, but also if they're not using that particular text or not using a text at all, which of course we don't like, they might use it as a supplement to help them actually prepare for classes. But the real target for the book is students, both undergraduate students and graduate students. But I think primarily, if I had to say which one is the book targeted towards, it would be towards undergraduate students taking their first class in sports marketing. So primarily, undergrad students would be the central market for the book. One of the things that I'll come back to is the real beauty of the book is the fundamental concepts that are presented in the book that were presented in the first edition don't actually change over time because they're fundamental marketing concepts or sports marketing concepts that are somewhat timeless. But obviously, every edition of the book, we attempt to improve it, update it through more relevant examples and recent examples. There are a lot of tables and statistics that you'll find in the book that are updated. To be quite honest, that's hard to keep up with because the sports industry changes so quickly. But we obviously do our best to provide the latest and greatest statistics and examples for the students using the book and the faculty members using the book. A couple of other changes that we've tried to incorporate. One is social media, obviously, over time has just exploded. So, again, I remember when I was writing the first edition, we were barely talking about websites of interest to sports marketers. And now, obviously, we're incorporating all the different types of social media and how that influences the sports marketer in doing his or her job. And then, probably the greatest difference from this particular edition is as we were writing it, the COVID pandemic erupted, unfortunately. And so we were able to incorporate some of the pandemic effects in examples and how that would influence the whole industry, but sports marketing specifically. So again, full circle, lots of new things, but the real beauty is the fundamental concepts are the same for the students and instructors, and I think they will remain the same and somewhat timeless. So the companion website, we've tried to incorporate things for instructors primarily that would really allow them to teach the class more effectively and as a former faculty member more efficiently because you want to have these things at your fingertips to make the class go smoother and to certainly make your job a little bit easier as the instructor. So one of the things that I used to personally hate to do was construct tests for the students, especially multiple choice questions. So we do have an updated test bank with multiple choice and essay questions to make it easier on instructors. We have obviously an instructor's manual that you could follow to look at the flow of a particular chapter or a particular class that you might be teaching. And then also probably the most useful for instructors are the PowerPoint slides that accompany each chapter. So even if you have your own PowerPoint slides, you may want to incorporate some of ours or vice versa. But certainly almost all instructors these days use PowerPoint, especially if they're teaching online. They need to have that sort of resource handy, and we provide all that for them. So I think you'd find the standard supplements that you would expect in most textbooks, but certainly we've tried to update those and improve those as well for the instructors' use primarily. Well, tips for instructors, I would say with all humility, I'm sure there are far better faculty members and instructors than I, but one of the things, again, going back to one of my previous responses about the fundamental concepts, this book back in 1997 was written from a very business perspective. And in fact, it was written, and the only book on the market at that time, and maybe still on the market, that really uses a strategic marketing approach, a strategic planning approach to the organization of the text. And we find that to be very effective. And so if I were teaching the class, and when I did teach the class, I would ask the students to construct a marketing plan, a marketing strategy. You could do it for a quote unquote real organization. Maybe it's your own university's athletic department. Maybe it's a nearby professional team, or even an amateur team, even a little league, or a kids league, if you will. All these things need sports marketing strategic plans, and so the best way to use this book is to use that framework, the way the chapters are organized, the way that we present the framework in the early chapters, and actually apply it to a real case. Of course, if you don't want to use a real case, there are plenty of case studies out there that you could draw from, or just pick one. You don't have to have a live client, but I feel like that really adds to the student experience, because obviously when students get into the industry, they're going to be interacting with real clients with real problems. So it not only presents them with the opportunity to learn how to do things, it presents them with the opportunity to interact with clients. So again, my best tip for using the book is use it as it's presented, really as a guide to creating a strategic sports marketing plan, and have students apply that to a real case study. And I think you'll find the students really get a lot out of that, and it will make the class go smoother for you as an instructor. Well, I would tell students that are using the book, again, I say this kind of kiddingly, but not, don't sell it back to the bookstore when you're done. As I mentioned earlier, there are a lot of sports marketing professionals that draw back on the core concepts. So as you're going through the text for the first time, some of these things, most of these things will be new and foreign, and you'll be learning them, but keep the book. And as you progress in your career, you'll have a much deeper understanding about how to use what we present in the book that you didn't have the first go around. So beyond that, I would just say kind of keep up with the book. The examples are going to change over time. The way that we market is going to change over time, but the core concepts are there. So learn those core concepts and you'll be set for your entire career.